Hey everyone, so in this video it's pretty much just me talking about you wanting to get into One Piece trading card game. So let's just get right into it. So whenever you're learning a new card game, there's always pros and cons. If you really want to get into it, then you just gotta learn that there's pros and cons to it, like every other trading card game. Unfortunately though, when it comes to One Piece card game, it's very unfortunate that there's a lot of more cons than there are pros. So I guess we could just start off with the pros then. The only thing really good about it is that it has a very big community as of right now, and we're only 6 sets in for America. And that's about it. You'll always have a way to play it in person because of locals and card shops, right? So that's a pro to it. The community base of it is about it. You have a place to play it. Since Bandai Namco doesn't have an official way to play on your phone or computer like that. But the community side also leads into cons, but we'll get into that later. The other only pro I can see about One Piece trading card game is that it's actually pretty fast and simple to learn. If you're coming from Magic, then I'd say you get it pretty fast because it is similar to Magic. Big surprise, a new card game is related to one of the big three. But Magic has some similar playstyles to, or One Piece has similar playstyles to Magic, to where summoning character cards needs an energy resource. It has, ETB triggers, if you know what that is, because you're from Magic. ETB triggers means it has a ability that activates once it's played, so on and so on. So if you're coming from Magic, then I think it's pretty simple that you'll get it pretty fast. But if you've never played Magic and you're trying to pick up a new card game, you really like the One Piece show and you really want to play the card game, it's very fast and simple to learn. I feel like you could pick it up pretty easily. And that's all I can really say about it. Let's get into the cons, unfortunately. So like I said earlier, one of the cons is that community is also part of the cons. Just like everything that, every hobby or group that you ever wanted to join, there's always going to be the cringe side to it. There's always going to be that side to a hobby, to where the community has just arrogant, cocky people, or they have cringe people, or they just have people who kind of ruin the hobby for you. And I know that's a bad thing to put for the cons, but that's just a fact. If you don't acknowledge the facts, then you can't really go on with life. You can't really accept reality. That's just a reality you have to accept. Groups, communities will always have that side to the community. And that's just something you're going to have to, suck up and take it with. It's just how it is. But luckily, even though, it's 50-50, you might be lucky enough to find the nice people in the community. Like I did when I go to locals, there's very nice people at my locals. Very welcoming, open, and just very helpful. Not everybody's like that. That's just how people are. Fortunately for me, though, I don't care what people think about me, and sometimes I just don't really care what people think. So, yeah, if you don't care, then I don't care. So the community side doesn't really affect my decisions in some things, because I don't care about what the community thinks of me. The next con is that power creeping kind of came in pretty early. And power creeping will always be a thing in card games. That's just a fact as well. 100% every card game will have power creeping. But for One Piece, it's kind of sad because it kind of came in really, really early. It was around, I think, OPO2 or 3. I'd say OPO2 because of all the stuff they released for Red. So, if you're a very competitive player, you know that when OPO2 came out, the most we've seen for comp side is that Red was just wrecking people. We had Zoro, we had Red Green Law, and then OPO2 had Whitebeard. So, yeah, that was the very first leader with 6,000 power. And not to mention, he just had good hand size because he had searchers and he always grabbed stuff from life. He had good events. He had a very good stage that got, banned immediately. So, yeah, that's just how it is. Power creeping kind of came into this game really, really, really early because of the stuff they released for Red, which helped boost Law and Zoro. So, If you don't want to consider it that, then I'm sorry. That's what power creeping is. Once a new set comes out and it boosts something from something before, that means it power crept up. That's the whole point of power creeping. Something from a previous set that was either mid to good becoming something crazy because of something releasing later, that's power creeping. That's just how it is. So you could technically say it started in OPO2. I like to think OPO3 started it, but you could say it's around one of those two. So power creeping came really early into the game, and it's still going on, unfortunately. So power creep can be a thing in this game that you may not like. It may affect how you think about the game, and it may affect your thinking about if you even want to play it. So just realize that no matter what card game you play, that'll always be a thing. So don't look at it as a bad thing for One Piece. That's just the nature of card games. It's always gonna power creep. And speaking of power creeping, I guess that leads into the next con where it's like the mechanics of the game. And it's not to where like, oh man, this is just straight up garbage mechanics. No, not at all. It's more like the way it's executed or the way it was brought out, I guess you could say. I don't know how to word it exactly. Like the color mechanics, right? Since I said it's similar to Magic, every color has its own shtick, and you could also say it plays in the same way as the commander format for Magic. So the way that One Piece works is that you have a leader card, and you can only play certain colors pertaining to your leader. So if your leader is just straight up a red color, you can only play red cards. So, and since every color has its own shtick, kind of like Magic, with the way that it is, it's kind of like there's no consequences. And I don't want to say it like that because it makes it sound like it's absolute. No, it's not. There's not no consequence. Well, there are some that have no consequences, but like it just wasn't executed the right way. Does that sound right? Like red is known for being very aggressive. So the way people play that as is that they just summon a bunch of like low cost things, boost everything up, and then swing at your face and make you lose a lot of life. Blue is all about control. And blue has very good removal for board state with no consequences. Like, blue has one event card that lets you return one of your opponent's characters to the bottom of their deck. It doesn't matter how much they cost. They just go straight to the bottom of the deck. It doesn't matter their attack power, their cost, their archetype, anything. Their character, nothing. They just go straight to the bottom of the deck. And that's only for 6 energy. That's pretty free. I'm sorry, if you're trying to build a board and you lose your big body for your major damage, where's the consequence in that? Where's your opponent's consequence? They pretty much profited because they got rid of your biggest major attack. So blue's whole thing is about control, and unfortunately blue has just really good removal for no consequences, unfortunately. Not to mention some of their removal are on characters that are big bodies themselves. So you could play your big body, they play their big body with removal, they remove your big body, so where's the consequence for that? They get something and, they don't have to lose anything for it? Like, that's just straight up, they get 2 things, I get nothing. Like, where's the balancing in that? Like, say you play, so there's a card that came out in a blue starter deck, his name is Doflamingo, he was a 7-drop. He returns a 7 or less card to your opponent's hand. And that affects a lot of people because there is summoning sickness in this game, just like Magic. Once you summon something, they can't attack immediately unless they have a certain ability. So, if they play that Dofi, you lose your 7 or lower character that you were about to swing with and use an ability on, possibly if they have a 1 attacking ability. But you don't get to because they just played the Dofi and you lose that 7 or less character. You have to resummon them back out, which means you have to use the same amount of Dawn, which means you can't use another play. So it's like blue has very easy removal, and that's just what it is. I'm sorry. Green's all about setup, and green kind of sucked at the beginning of the release of this game. Of course, there was red-green Law, but you never really played the full green side of Law. Green's all about setup again, so you either have to set up a whole board, or you set up characters that help you set up board, but with the way that how aggressive red was, you didn't really have time to set up, or blue would just remove your things, so like you didn't really have a way to set up until later on. So green kind of just died immediately unless you were red-green Law. Then you have purple. Purple is the ramping color. So it's like green in Magic, where you ramp up your energy resource to where you can play bigger stuff faster while also having to minus energy. So purple's whole shtick is that you minus a certain amount of your energy to activate the ability. And purple can be any color actually, because all you have to do to activate its ability is by minusing a certain amount of resource. So purple can be any color. You could minus some stuff to rest something, you can minus some stuff to return something, you can minus some stuff to KO something. So it could be any color. And what's the next color? Red, green, blue, and purple. We only had 4 on release. Then we got black and OPO2. Black's whole thing was about minusing cost and KOing things. So you had a lot of black cards that made you KO things, but it was balanced at the time, because at the time most of the KO cards, when you played them to KO something, you had to discard a card, which was a fair exchange. You lose some hand size, your opponent loses a character. So that's balance. That's balancing. They did good on that part. However, black's a very hard counter to green, because again, green's all about setup. But if your opponent's playing black and they're just KOing all your stuff so you can't set up, then you don't really have a board. Then OPO3 came out and we got yellow, the final color. We have 6 colors in total. Yellow's the final one. Yellow's all about life manipulation. Yellow's all about adding cards to the top of your life, rearranging cards in your life, and so on and so on. It's all about life manipulation. Which, again, goes all the way back to power creeping, right? So, you know, yellow came out. Yellow was crazy because you're always getting life. But red kept it in check for a little bit. And then I think it still keeps it in check, kind of. But black and yellow were the new colors. So there wasn't really a way to get around that, because there wasn't a way to stop abilities. There still isn't a way to stop abilities, like negate abilities or nullify abilities. We have one character card that just got released in America that nullifies abilities. It's one card. We have nothing to nullify abilities. So, and there's no chaining mechanic either. There's no like, oh man, your ability activates, which activates my ability. No, there's no such thing as that. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't chain abilities. If it's your opponent's turn and they play a KO card, but them playing a card triggers a card on your side, your card doesn't trigger. It doesn't matter if it meets the requirements of your card. If your opponent KOs that card by playing a certain card, you just lose that card. There's no such thing as chaining mechanics. So there's no such thing as like, you know, a stack, like an ability stack. There's no such thing as that. They really prioritize priority instead of, you know, making these abilities that work on certain occasions only for it to not really work. So the mechanics of this game, I wouldn't say they're bad. They're not bad at all. It's just it wasn't executed right. There's like every card game has chaining mechanics, but One Piece doesn't. I don't get it. I don't get it. There's people who don't like the chaining mechanic, but there are people who actually advocate for chaining. Another friend of mine that I played One Piece with, we always talk about like why there isn't a chaining mechanic, or like we always bring it up. And it's like it would make sense for it because there's a lot of cards that need a certain requirement for it to even activate. So like, I don't know. The mechanics of the game, again, the mechanics of this game aren't bad. They're just there, kind of. They just don't really work, or they weren't executed really well. Especially with the colors having, you know, sticking to their one shtick or playing very lame in some cases. Like that's just how it is. The next con I could really say is prices. I can really, you know, talk about this a lot. It's just prices, right? Prices, money is money. Money is green. Haha, I give money, I get something. But unfortunately, if you're not in Texas and you can't go to the official One Piece store, you're going to be paying a pretty hefty amount for One Piece cards. Of course, card shops need to make profit. That's how capitalism works. And that's why this country works well. If you aren't at the official store, you're going to be paying a pretty hefty amount, and that's just how it is. So I'm very spoiled. I was in Texas for a little bit, so I got to go to the official store. I paid MSRP, or whatever that phrasing is called. I don't know what it is. I paid the normal amount for a box that it should be. You're probably not able to do that, and I'm sorry for that. That's just how it is, especially if you're trying to buy singles. If you're very competitive and you really want to stick to the meta, you're going to be paying a pretty hefty amount, especially if you want to bling out your deck. The alternate art cards are not cheap. They are not cheap. There are already alternate art cards that are reaching close to half a grand. Like alternate art leaders are half like Law, the alternate art leader for Law, the red green Law is close to half a grand. It's $500. And some like parallel cards of character cards are close to $100, or like it would cost you close to over $100 to get a playset of them. So the pricing for this game is very expensive. That's a really big con. That's a big major con, because if you don't have money, you can't play the game. But that's only if you play competitively. If you're casual like me and you like testing things out and actually experiencing the variety they give in card games, then you don't have to worry about spending a lot of money. You don't. With all the different leaders you have, you can build a lot of different decks. I have multiple decks. You think I play meta? I don't play meta. I played Katakuri, so I do play meta. But it's not a meta Katakuri. It's not like every other Katakuri where it's like the same exact thing you see every game. But like I have a bunch of different. I had an Odin deck at one point. Odin was garbage. Odin was D tier when he came out, and he's still not middle tier. He's like bottom of mid or like top of bottom. So like I had a Kinemon deck. I had a Smoker deck. I had, what else did I have? I had a Cypher Pole deck. Rob Lucci in OPO3 sucked. Do you understand that? Rob Lucci sucked, and I used to play him. So like, it's just, if you're not competitive, then the prices shouldn't matter to you. The prices wouldn't be a con for you. You just get to enjoy playing the game like I do. I like variety in card games. That's why I like card games. There's just a bunch of variety. That's why I'm not really competitive when it comes to card games. So prices isn't really a con for me. But it could be for you if all you do is think competitively. Now, another con you could really say is we don't really have a way to play this game unless you go to locals or if you have a friend that plays it too. Because again, I said it earlier, Bandai Namco has not released an official way to play this like on your computer or on a console or anything like Yu-Gi-Oh has. So you can't really test stuff out unless you go out. There's no official simulator. But on my channel, there is a simulator. It's fan-made. It's a fan-made simulator. So, yeah. Unfortunately, that simulator does have a little bit of problems. And again, it's fan-made. So I don't want to be bashing the creators on it. I get it. Coding is really hard. I'm learning coding. I'm working on a project of mine where I'm making my own game. And coding's hard. Coding is hard. Very hard. So I get it. However, I'm one person. As far as I know, you guys are a team. Like, it's not just one person working on it as far as I know. The simulator does have problems. So there's like glitching in it to where you're trying to grab stuff from your graveyard, or you're trying to grab something from your deck, or you're searching your deck, it won't let you grab it, yada yada yada, something doesn't trigger from your life right. I would like to activate my abilities, that's all I'm saying. I get that it's fan-made. Again, I can't stress this enough. I know it's fan-made. I know it's a small team working on it. I get it. But if you're going to release a simulator for people to test stuff out for either competitive or casually, you got to make sure it runs right. Not to mention, there's also a very big connection problem. They say it's connection, but I feel like it's something with the sim and the servers, because I play on a LAN, or not LAN. I play on a, what's it called? Ethernet. There you go. I couldn't think of Ethernet. I've always played on Ethernet. Ever since I was in high school, I've played on Ethernet because I'm just a big online gaming loser, nerd. So it can't be connection. It has to be something with the servers or something like that. So again, I can't stress this enough. You guys are doing great on the simulator. It's really good, especially that ranked mode. You're really supporting both sides of the community, casual players and competitive players. So that's really good of you. Really good job. Not to mention you guys are pretty fast on keeping stuff up to date. The simulator is pretty fast on keeping up to date because the cards they release are pretty new. Like they're already releasing stuff in the fan-made simulator for you to test out. That's in EBO1. We don't even have Extra Booster 1 yet. We don't get that until May. So like we're already getting to test stuff out from EBO1. So they're doing really good on that part. It's just the glitching and the connection problems because I'll be honest, when I click on a server room hosted by somebody, the least you could do, if it's not your side, and it is coming from our side as the players, you could at least code in like a back to menu button so we're not stuck on the loading screen the whole time to where we have to exit out of the whole window. That'd be pretty great. That'd be pretty great to where you don't have to exit out the whole window and relaunch the game again, because I've done that a lot of times because either it's the servers or it's on the player's connection. So yeah, that's about it for the simulator. The last con you can really say about One Piece is that the quality assurance and balancing, it's kind of not even there. Because if you don't know, if you're not sticking to competitive stuff, Sakazuki was a leader that got released in Set 5. And he was kind of reigning over a lot of tournaments. He was getting very high results to where most of the results in the tournaments were all Sakazuki players. He was a black-blue leader. And immediately after the next set, in Set 6 that we're getting literally this week, Set 6 in Japan, they've already said that they're already reworking the leader. Sakazuki got released in one set, and in the next set, they said they already reworked him. So, testing, balancing, quality assurance isn't really there, when the cards come out. They didn't really say, oh man, wait, this doesn't seem right. Because they're already saying, hey, we're reworking this card because, yeah, we didn't realize this was bad. So there isn't really quality assurance or balancing there. Like, nobody's really reading the cards. They're just like, that sounds about right. Put that on that leader, send it out. Because I can say that much for sure, because the Uta leader that came out for the new starter deck, you literally swing with 6k every time and get a free card. So you get to draw 2 cards in one turn. Not to mention she got an event card specifically for her that is a free search pretty much. You don't have to pay any energy resource to search. So I don't think there really is quality assurance or balancing or testing for this card game. As far as I know, there is, right? Every there's always quality assurance for products, but like I feel like they aren't really like thinking when they make cards, especially if you have an example of a stage getting banned immediately, or a leader getting reworked immediately after the set it was released, and not even getting to test cards out, because if you don't know, they banned a yellow card from Set 6. We haven't gotten it here in America yet. I think we get it tomorrow, actually. We get this set tomorrow, on Friday. They banned a card called Reject. We haven't even, in America, we haven't even got to try that card yet. So, like, there's not really a lot of testing, or I can at least 90% say there's not a lot of quality assurance or balancing for this game, or for cards when it comes to that. So yeah, that just relates back to power creeping, right? And the mechanics. Like, that's just... There's not a lot of stuff going on at Bandai Namco, and there's a lot... Like, I remember when this game came out that people were saying, like, man, I hope they don't Dragon Ball it up. Because Dragon Ball Super had major power creep, and just the stuff that they were releasing was just crazy every set. So, like... I mean, I don't want to say it's going to come out like Dragon Ball Super card game, but I can say that it may be on the path to that already. And we're not even 10 sets in yet. So that's about it for pros and cons. I'm pretty sure there's more that I couldn't really go into full detail about, but if you really want to get into One Piece trading card game, especially if you're coming from Magic, I say you should, because if you play Magic, you'll understand how to play this game with all the energy resourcing, how character abilities work and all that, because there are keyword abilities too that pretty much relate to Magic. Like Rush for One Piece is a haste for Magic. On play is ETB, which is enter the battlefield. So yeah, the only thing that's different about it is that there's no stack. There's no ability stack. So if your character card has an ability that meets a requirement, guess what? If it's your opponent turn and they KO it, that doesn't matter. So there's no stacking. But if you're coming from not knowing card games, not knowing Magic, and you want to get into One Piece card game because you like the One Piece show, then I say you should. It's a very simple and fast to learn game. Very simple character abilities that you can pretty much get in your head and know how it works pretty fast, especially with the keywords. Save themselves with the keywords, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! With their paragraph text. But I before I get off and end this video, I will say that I feel like you should go into One Piece casually with the way that sets are releasing and how fast things are getting banned and reworked. There's not a lot of quality assurance or testing when it comes to the competitive side of stuff. So I'd say try to go into it casually. Play casual more for One Piece card game, and if you really want to try to dip your toes into the competitive scene, try. Go ahead. Just know that you'll probably be spending a lot of money. You'll have to deal with the power creep, the different mechanics of each color, and like knowing all that stuff, and like trying to figure out, why I'm losing my big body and they get to keep theirs when all they have to do is play one card, or like why they're ramping pretty easily. But say what you want, co-parter, L plus ratio, whatever you want to say, I don't care. That's just the facts I've seen from this card game. But again, try to go into it casually first. Pick up a starter deck if you can. If you're not in Texas, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to pay about $20 for a starter deck. That's just how it is. Or you could try to ask a friend who does play. They can help you get into it. They could probably give you some cards to learn, maybe help you build a deck, and you'll have a great time if you play it casually. But just like every card game, it's luck based. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. And again, I'm sorry if I offended you with that. Actually, I'm not sorry I offended you with that. I don't think I offended anybody. If you feel offended by that, I'm not sorry. It's what it is. Trading card games are luck. It's not poker. You can't mathematically card count. It's not a thing you can do in card games. So, yeah, it's luck based. Don't take this game seriously. Go into it casually first if you're trying to get into it. Test out the variety it gives. Test out the variety it offers you with the new stuff. Try to find what clicks to you. With all the different leaders, all the different archetypes, the different colors, and their crazy abilities, I feel like you can find something to help you get into this game pretty fast. That's about it. I might do this for something else. Who knows? What other card game I can do? Probably Yu-Gi-Oh! Probably not. Who knows? But yeah, that's about it for this video.